So, now the claims concern higher quality imagery that replaces the original lower quality images, and in doing so removing all references to Venus and leaving a bizarre looking shape to our eyes. In short, no, you haven't caught NASA with their pants down, nor have you caught them manipulating image data, but you have misunderstood how images arrive from the stereo satellites to the stereo website and beyond. And yes, it is an unusual shape compared to what we think we would see, but once again it's an expected shape to those who know how it is created. I think it's time to do some research to explain all of this. Indeed, doing research is the only reason I haven't made a hasty response to these recent claims. I was instead checking my information, as any one of us is capable of doing. So, let's get straight to it. Stereo A records its imagery and other data, telemetry and so on, and saves it on board. That data is known as the science data, and it is what will be studied back down on the ground. In the case of Core 2 data, it looks something like this. Getting it back to Earth, however, is a challenge, and a costly one too. To get the science data back, the Deep Space Network is called upon, a series of antennas that track down the stereo satellites and download their data, a process which can take hours. Once all the science data is downloaded to the DSN, it is then downloaded by those who will process the data. In the case of our beloved Core 2 imagery, groups at the Naval Research Laboratory download this data, process it, and send it on to the Science Centre and the website, and other groups who use the data. This whole process results in a 3-day lag. 3 days is far too long, especially when we're monitoring for solar storms, so stereo also stays in constant contact, but has to stream the science data back to Earth in a different form, at much less cost and on a much quicker timescale. More antennas download this heavily compressed data from the satellite's beacon mode, allowing us to get an idea of what is happening on the Sun as soon as possible. But it is only an idea. We cannot use low-quality beacon mode data to do science. We can make an educated guess, but we can only confirm it a few days later once the science data has been processed. This image is an example of what sort of content is sent in the beacon mode, and contrast that with the science data imagery for the same time. You can think of this process as taking a photo of a landscape, but first transmitting a rough sketch of the landscape so people can get an idea of what's out there relatively quickly, and then to take time in transmitting the photo itself. The two images are the same. This is the image Stereo A saw. It first transmitted a lower quality version that was uploaded to the website as soon as possible, and then it transmitted the higher quality image, which was uploaded at a later date after being processed. There is a useful way to tell which version you're looking at if you're unsure, and that's to check the file name of the image. The beacon mode imagery will have a 7 near the end, and the science data will have a 4 instead, and it's as simple as that. If you really want to make a claim on the stereo imagery, make a claim on the science data, not the beacon mode, and that's exactly what some of you have done, so let's continue to find out why Venus appears to have a funny shape, and yes, it is still Venus. There is a simple reason for this shape, and it's due to the light from Venus diffracting off the occulter that blocks out the light from the Sun and bouncing around the optics of the instrument before being read off as an image. It's a known effect, and we can see it down here on Earth too. In any case, it's a strong light source entering delicate and precise optics. The Core 2 instrument isn't designed to look at planets, so it doesn't compensate, if you will, for any entering its field of view. It simply doesn't care that they're in view and just lets it happen. And yes, it has happened before, and yes, it was Venus then as well. And Mercury is in this image too. It doesn't have the butterfly shape that Venus does because not all planets are equal in the amount of light they reflect back from the Sun to the instruments in stereo. When I say things are normal in the imagery, I mean things are normal in the imagery, even if I have to double check what I've researched with the experts, the people who, by definition, know what they are talking about. They have contact information, they do reply to your messages, so if you need to, just ask them. I cannot stress enough how important research is. You're obviously smart enough to gather imagery from a variety of dates, instruments and satellites, so why can't you also browse the Western websites to learn how the instruments work, how the data is sent from the satellites, how CCDs are affected by light to create image artifacts. This is all available for you to read up on, and still you ignore it and jump to the conclusion that someone is hiding something or manipulating imagery. I know you have the curiosity and indeed the passion for this sort of stuff, so why do you not have the desire to actually learn about it too?